Girl, you must be a savings account because my interest is to compound you daily. Get it? Compound you daily? I have daughters. Albert Einstein famously referred to compounding interest as the eighth wonder of the world. In this video, we're going to dive into examples of compound interest. We'll run a few fun experiments related to how compound interest works, and I'll show you 3 different levers you can pull to boost your compounding results. Stay tuned. So we're all familiar with the concept of earning interest. I'm assuming most of you watching this video right now at some point have either had a savings account or a checking account, some sort of account that earns some amount of interest. So let's say we have $1,000 in the bank, okay? So this bank is going to pay us a 4% annual percentage yield. That means at the end of every 12 months or every year, this is going to compound at 4%, okay? So in this quick example, at the end of 12 months, you can answer down in the comments below, how much money would you have? Well, this is going to grow to $1,040. You would have earned $40 in interest over this 12-month period based on this annual percentage yield, okay? So this is where it kind of gets interesting. So if I were to leave this $1,040 in the bank for another 12 months, you would obviously be earning 4% if the bank doesn't change that rate. However, this is where the power of compound interest starts. This $40 over the next 12 months is going to throw off an additional $1.60. So yes, that's a little bit more than a dime every month, which obviously isn't a lot, but this is basically the power of compound interest in a nutshell. You didn't do anything to earn the 40, which means you didn't do anything to earn the additional $1.60, and that's where this can really start to snowball, and we can show the process of growing this money exponentially. And again, this $1.60 may not sound like much, but over time with big enough numbers and compounding can deliver incredible results. Let's look into the formula and how it actually does that. Okay, so this is the formula for compound interest. This is basically this is the total or the accrued amount. This is the principal plus interest. P is going to be the principal amount, the original $1,000 if we go back to last slide's example. 1 plus R. R is going to be the annual nominal interest rate as a decimal. So in this case, if we're gonna be using, actually it's probably easier if I just fill these in. So let's just say $1,000 from our last example, that's the principal. R is going to be the interest rate, so it's going to be 4%. This actually really means 0.04. N is going to be the number of compounding periods per units of time. So this is 12 months. Remember, we're doing this monthly. And then T is going to be the time in decimal years. So for example, if this was 6 months, we'd be using 0.5 years. Since we're doing over the course of a year, which we used in our last example, it's going to be 12 divided by 12 equals 1 year, okay? AKA, we're using the number 1 right here. Okay, so without actually doing the math, I'll just replace these variables. So you can see P is going to be 1,000, 1 plus 0.04 divided by 12, and then you're going to have 12 times 1. So this is basically the formula to get you the answer of $1,040.74, okay? This is basically the $40 in interest that we talked about in the previous slide. Make sense? Okay, so here's the fun experiment that I was talking about in the beginning of the video. There's many different variations of this story or this experiment or this fable, if you will. There's one like medieval example of some engineer creates something. He offers to double a grain of rice every square on a chessboard, whatever. This one's a little bit easier to understand. So would you rather take $10,000 a day every day for a month, or 1 penny that doubles each day for a month? So pause the video and answer down below. Don't look this up. Obviously, you already probably know what the answer is gonna be because it's a video about compound interest. But thanks to compounding, that penny will have doubled to this amount, and I'll show you how. It's gonna double to $10,737,418 versus, this is the penny doubling, versus if you were to take 10 grand a day for 31 days, you're obviously going to get $310,000. So it's a much bigger difference. So here's something cool. So on day 15, that penny doubling is worth $81.92. On day 20, that penny doubling is worth $5,242.88. So this person's laughing at you. They have 200 grand, you have 5,200 bucks. They're like, you're an idiot, why did you do that? But on day 25, they still have more money than you. You have 167,772 and some change. On day 30, you have 5.3 million. Day 31, you have this number right here, $10,737,418. So that's the power of doubling. Obviously, these aren't realistic compounding terms, but it's just to show you that over such a small period of time, compounding can really build. And I'll show you why in the 3 levers in the next slide. Okay, here's the 3 levers that you can pull to obviously increase your compounding. Number 1 is a higher rate. Obviously, if you've been following the Fed and what they've been doing, we basically went from ZIRP, zero interest rate policy, to an overnight Fed funds rate of like 5.5% in a very small amount of time. That's why high yield savings accounts rates are going up like crazy. So here's an example. Let's just say for big numbers, you have $1 million at 4%. This is obviously going to throw off $40,000 in interest after a 12-month period. If you go to a higher yield savings account, or you can somehow increase this yield to 5%, this is no brainer, turns into 50 grand a year, okay? So you just made an additional $10,000, okay? So number 2, we're going to add more money along the way. So add money. So if we take that example of $1 million and we actually start to throw in, we'll keep this at 4%, and we start to throw in $5K a month. I know this isn't realistic for most people watching this video. I'm just doing this so the number's bigger and it makes more sense to prove a point. So on top of the $40,000 that you're already gonna make, if you add an additional $5,000 a month every month, that same million is now going to be worth 1.1 million, actually a little bit more. I just don't want to write out the whole number, between the extra interest payments and also the $60,000 a year contribution, okay? So this is obviously another option, is to add more money. Number 3 is patience. So if you give your money time to compound and grow, that same $1 million, let's just say at 4%, if you didn't touch it, if you just threw in this $1 million and didn't touch it, this is going to become over 10 years. And you can plug this all into the formula we just learned about in the last slide. This is going to become $1,480,244 by doing nothing in 10 years. Now, we'll talk about some of this stuff, why compounding may not be as powerful as it used to be, and we'll get into that right now. Okay, so let's get into my finishing thoughts for this video, or my final thoughts. So basically, there's 2 things I want to touch on. Obviously, the elephant in the room is inflation. So it doesn't matter if you're earning 4 or 5% in your high yield savings account if the cost of groceries are up 20, 30%, right? Or the cost of going out to eat is 20, 30%, or your CPI is 20, 30%. So that's obviously an exaggeration. Not in some cases, some groceries actually are up that much. But what I'm trying to say is it doesn't matter if you're compounding interest if CPI or the cost of other goods are compounding as well, right? So my point is that if inflation is 5% and you're earning 4%, you need to figure out a way to make a difference on that 1%, right? Which kind of brings me to my second point, which is patience. So don't pull your money out unless you have a better opportunity to invest. So if going back to that example of 4% that we used throughout this entire video, your friend comes to you and says he has some, miracle tree in his backyard and it throws off a guaranteed, 7%. Obviously you need to put your money where it's best treated and get the highest rate of return. These are 100% passive opportunities. Why would you settle for 4% when you can make 7%? So it's kind of like the inflation point, just in reverse, if you will. However, these both trump leaving your money under a mattress, in a vault, in the drywall of your house, because then you're just getting destroyed by inflation. There goes your purchasing power. So compound interest, you're gonna benefit by defeating inflation, maintaining your purchasing power, and also being patient by putting your money in the right things. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you got value out of this video. If so, please share it with a friend, give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. And also check out Whiteboard Finance University. I'm giving a 20% off coupon code. Use compound20 down in the description below or when you go to check out. It's an unbelievable community. We have over 100 members. We have 3 professors, and the amount of value in there, I cannot describe at the end of a YouTube video. You just have to go check it out. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a prosperous day. Girl, you must be a savings account because my interest is to compound you daily. Get it? Compound you daily. I have daughters.